I have a journalist in Rivers State, Charles Okwarum. Good evening, Mr. Charles. It's great to have you on the program.
Good evening, Zainab. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. We also have a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Barrister Chetam Onwala. Good evening, Barrister Onwala. It's great to have you on the program.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Let me begin with you, Mr. Charles, just to get, what the mood is like in, the state and what has happened since that state of emergency has been lifted. The governor, has he resumed yet? The state houses of assembly, they met today. What were the details of what happened?
Okay, so first off, I just to lay a background, I have not gone to the government house. Okay. I have not visited there. So I know from the fact that my colleague is on ground and that there's a lot of traffic along Aba Road leading towards Lagos bus stop where the government house is. When I went to the Ecumenical Center this morning, there's a crowd there. But aside that, I have not entered the facility. Rather, I spent most of my day, aside doing field reports, I also covered today's plenary by the Rivers State House of Assembly. Today's plenary by the Rivers State House of Assembly was the first since the state of emergency was declared. The last time the assembly sat was on the 12th day of March. And don't forget, a few days later, was on the 16th day of March rather, and 2 days later, the President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency. Now, during today's plenary, there was just one motion and one motion alone, titled a motion to set legislative agenda for the remaining part of the third session of the 10th Rivers State House of Assembly. That was the motion which was presented today by the leader, the Right Honorable Major Jack, and he had about 6 prayers. Of course, there were prayers including thanking President Tinubu for restoring peace to Rivers State. But then there were 2 things that stood out for me while I was there. One, the assembly asked the governor, to forward the list of commissioner nominees to them for screening and confirmation. And then 2, when Honorable Major Jack was making his presentation, he was asking the governor to clarify whether or not he wants to present a new budget or if he wants to continue with the budget, the appropriation bill that was approved and passed for them by the National Assembly. That was during the presentation phase. Okay. But when the speaker was rounding up, was winding down plenary, he requested that the governor should prepare a new budget and forward to the assembly for confirmation because, in his view, the budget that was passed by the National Assembly was never seen by any member of the State House of Assembly. So they don't even know what is inside. They don't have any accounts of how monies were spent in the state, contracts that were awarded, inflows and outflows. So they want to have their own budget. But the question is, this is September. If the governor sends a budget by September, how many months is the budget going to run for? How many months are remaining? Yeah. So that's the question.
Also wondering what happens to the other budgets that has been passed by the National Assembly that was approved, because that was for 2025 as well.
It was for 6 months, actually. The mandate of the sole administrator was 6 months. So I mean, these are the things that happen. These complications are the complications we have to now deal with as a direct fallout of not only the declaration of a state of emergency, but the suspension of all elected government officials. So we are treading new waters, places that we haven't entered before. And the lawyers are the ones who are going to start interpreting. Is it possible to pass a budget for 3 months in the states? So these are questions for the legal minds and probably the economic minds as well.
Okay. All right. I mean, we have a lawyer who would speak on that, but because we know you have things to do, so we'll just go straight to the next question. Because, when I saw it, he said for 2025, in fact, they increased his budget. It was 1.4 billion. And he stated what they're going to also use it for. So, that's where the confusion comes. Now, are we saying it's 6 months? Are we saying it's 1 year? But where exactly did they sit? Because we're saying, they're back to democratic rule. Was it as the new, the burnt assembly complex being built? Is that where they sat? Or where exactly did they sit for this?
They couldn't have sat at the assembly complex because it's still under construction. In fact, the assembly complex is, the way the contract was awarded, it was almost awarded in a rush. So members of the Ministry of Works have come, they've noticed some errors in the building. And so they've pointed these errors out. So these corrections are being made to the building. So I would say it's probably 50, 60%, maybe 60% complete. Hopefully it should be completed by the end of the year. So they couldn't have sat this. They sat where they've always sat since the assembly complex was demolished, and that is the assembly quarters off Aba Road by the Mopol base.
Okay.
That's where they've always sat, and that's where they sat today as usual.
Okay. Were these other 4 lawmakers that were suspended also at plenary? We know that Martin Amewule suspended the other 4, Victor Okojumbo and the rest of them. Were they present at this plenary today?
Okay, so a point of correction. The Speaker did not suspend the other 3 lawmakers. The Speaker had earlier declared their seats vacant. It's different from a suspension. Now, but when I went into the assembly today, I was having an informal conversation with some of the lawmakers. And one of them told me, I asked him specifically, what about your colleagues? The other 3, are they still, are their seats declared vacant? And he said, no, not anymore. But the president told them to make peace. Therefore, the declaration of their seats vacant is no longer, something that's going to stand.
Okay.
So as part of what they call the peace parley, the other 3 are welcome to join them so that they can go ahead. In fact, it's interesting to note that the 27 lawmakers have all received brand new Toyota Land Cruiser 2025 SUVs, 2025 models, all of them, as I think it's part of the agreement or settlement or arrangement, I don't know. But all of them came in their vehicles, today. And I asked them, I said, what's going on? How far? And they said, yes, it's part of it, So there's happiness, there's joy.
It's part of it from who gave it to them?
Maybe one of these days we'll ask them who gave it to them, but they just said it's part of the deal, the settlement. So I think okay, so typically in most states, this is how it happens. The governor comes in and the governor awards a contract to purchase brand new vehicles for the members of the assembly. Now, just before the former governor left, the current FCT minister, he purchased brand new Ford Explorer SUVs for them. So many of them still drive them. The governor came in, Governor Fubara, and because of the fight between the governor and the assembly, he refused to do that. The only people who benefited and got those SUVs were the 4 who were with him before Edison became the chief of staff.
Okay.
So the other 27 didn't. So I think they have gotten theirs now, right? I think they've gotten theirs now. So, but it's not clear from whose budget these vehicles were purchased. Were they purchased from the budget that was approved for the sole administrator, or from the FCT's budget, or from somewhere else? We don't know. It's not very clear yet, but in the coming days we'll find out.
Okay. So for today, these 3 lawmakers were not present?
No, they weren't present. I did not see any of them. I was there. Okay. I didn't see any of them. They weren't present. They were just 27.
All right. As we try to wrap up now, do you know any projects done by, the sole administrator during his time, the 6 months that he was sole administrator? Let's put it that way. And I'll also ask what the pulse is, what the mood is in, Rivers as of today. So let's begin with the project.
I am not aware of any brand new project that the sole administrator initiated. I'm not aware of any brand new project, but I know that he was paying visits to projects that were already in existence before he came in. I'm aware he paid visits to some of the flyovers, the Songhai Farm, the assembly complex that is still being built, 1 or 2 other places. So, but I'm not aware there were any new projects started by the sole administrator.
Okay.
Now, about the mood, you see, something a little bit controversial happened last night. You alluded to it in your opening remarks when you said the sole administrator swore in the head of service late last night. That swearing happened very close to midnight, almost at midnight. That was when it happened. And that has raised a lot of eyebrows, because we don't know. There are question marks regarding that action, because the sole administrator's tenure ended at 12 a.m. last night. So when you swear someone in just before you leave, that person is supposed to have been sworn in by the governor, but you swear him in and then you leave. I don't know how members of the press are supposed to report it. Are we supposed to report it that the sole administrator has sworn him in when the sole administrator no longer exists?
Right.
Or is it the governor when he has not come to take over office? So it raises questions about the motive, behind that particular action.
Okay.
At least that's the sentiment on the ground here where I am.
Okay.
People like Sam and Co can speak to that, the legal implications of that. But this is just to answer your question about what the feeling is on the ground here in the States.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Okporom. Okay, and quickly, in 30 seconds, if you could do this, there were reports as to when the sole administrator was leaving. Is it the security aides attached to him, that there was a protest, that he ignored their welfare? Did any of that happen? Just to confirm that.
I heard about it the same way you heard about it.
Right.
I've tried to find out the situation, but all of them are remaining tight-lipped. None of them is telling me anything. But as we always say in this line of work, time will always reveal everything.
Yeah.
So they can keep quiet now. We'll eventually find out the real information.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Okporom, a journalist in Rivers State. We do appreciate your time on the program this afternoon. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. I'm going to take it to Barrister Cheta Mwala. Thank you so much for being patient. But, we just had to get that update as to the situation and then, come to you to speak to the other issues. So I'll just ask you your thoughts about that lifting of the state of emergency in the state. How did you see that?
Well, thank you. Good evening once again, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I have been indifferent about the whole lifting of the state of emergency. Of course, the president didn't have an option because, first of all, what he did was wrong. So, had declared the state of emergency in River State. It was wrong. So, there was no way he was going to extend it because he was only looking for an opportunity to correct the actions which he had carried out. But to tell you, when you look at some of the president's speech and some of the reasons he gave for declaring the state of emergency, it included the issue of the House of Assembly, not in view. And I can tell you that 6 months after, no serious thing has been done in National Assembly, and that we are in the same situation which the president claimed to have his declaration upon. And it's really a sad one. But that being said, right now, the state of emergency has been lifted. Rivers have been plunged into serious turmoil. The governor has a lot of work to start to redeem the image of Rivers State because the president, with his declaration of the emergency, destroyed the image of Rivers State, painted Rivers State in a bad light, and placed fears in the minds of foreign investors and international communities with respect to dealing with a state like Rivers State. That's why you see a lot of embassies gave out travel advisories to their citizens not to visit Rivers State, especially within this particular period. And the declaration of the emergency also confirms the fact that the fears of these embassies. So it's going to take the government to clean up and to make sure that get back the confidence of the international community again. So we can get foreign investors into Rivers State and we can get people coming to Rivers State to do business here and to reassure them because the president has already damaged our image by declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State.
Barrister Nwala, the sole administrator, he had a Thanksgiving service, even yesterday. He said he has fulfilled the mandate the president has given him and that's stabilizing, Rivers State and all of those things, bringing peace. And so for him, he has fulfilled that mandate. So would you say that, that mandate was fulfilled, according to what he has said, restoring peace?
Was that stabilizing? Was that trouble? Were there security challenges in Rivers State before he came? What mandate? The only mandate he came and he achieved and he fulfilled, I can tell you, would be the state capture of Rivers State, which the president had instructed him to do. But that is why when he came, he suspended all the boards, reappointed new ones in some of them, conducted the local government elections. Were this part of the mandate given to him? And this part of the emergency issues on ground? It was barely a state capture. And if he's saying that he has achieved the mandate, then I agree with him because if he has achieved the mandate of state capture, he captured the state for Mr. President. And of course, this whole thing was all about Mr. President 2027 ambition and nothing more pretentious, like we have seen. Just like I said, now we have all returned. They are now saying that they want to come and do a new, the governor should present a new budget. How can the governor present a new budget? The truth of the matter is that everything done by the sole administrator is presumed to be valid until a court of competent jurisdiction declares some of those actions invalid. So you cannot say that the governor should come and present a new budget to you. The best the governor can do would be to present what they call it again, a supplementary budget to you on areas, but he has to approach with this budget because the budget was passed 2025 budget, and the budget was also passed by the National Assembly that had the responsibility of legislating on behalf of Rivers State within the time of the state of emergency. So you can't at any point in time now say that a new budget should be presented unless it's a supplementary budget.
So, so what are they supposed to do? Because, that's what I was trying to tell Mr. Okoroum, that it was actually 2025 budget, not for 6 months. He presented the budget for 2025. And in fact, it was more than what, the governor himself presented. He presented 1.1. They presented 1.4. I think they increased it. Yes. And that increment, he said, was for the very first month when the state of emergency rule happened. That's why they are seeing it higher and the rest of it. So the House of Assembly is saying, well, we don't know what really happened, the line items, everything in this budget. So that's why they're asking him to either clarify or he will present another one. But Mr. Okoroum said at the end they asked him to present. So what is the State House of Assembly supposed to do to know what really is in this budget? Because even the governor wasn't there when they presented it. So how would the governor himself know what was in this budget if they're saying they did not know?
Now the point is this. From the claims that the sole administrator made, he said what he really did, that he continued with the old budget presented to the Okodumbo-led assembly that was annulled by the Supreme Court. Yeah. The governor, that he continued with that particular budget that the governor presented to that assembly. He only picked it up, dusted it, and added an extra 4 billion or thereabouts. Because that particular budget was about 1.1 trillion. I think added another 300 something billion into the budget. So making it about 1.4
billion. He added 365 billion, so he made it 1.48 trillion. Yeah.
Good. Now, on the strength of this addition which he has made, it simply means that the governor is aware of everything that is in that is previous 1.1 trillion budget, and this other addition which the state administrator felt that it will be necessary to use within the 6 months, and the 6 months has passed. So you can't say the governor should come and present a fresh budget. The best the governor can do would be to present a supplementary budget to the House of Assembly. They can't present a new budget to the House of Assembly. It also goes to tell you the crop of persons we have at the House of Assembly that these persons do not understand the legislative business, because usually we have a situation where the FCC minister decides who becomes what. He calls anybody, gives you appointment, and that's it. You become House of Assembly member. These are the kind of things we see. People who do not understand the legislative process and legislative business, and do not also consult as to how this business should be. That's why you have all these issues and discrepancies here and there.
But when you say present a supplementary budget, already there is a budget. You present a supplementary budget because maybe at the end of the day you're seeing that the money here is not enough. So is it that they've already checked to know that this money, this sum is not enough? We need more projects for you to now present a supplementary budget. And
exactly. So the issue of budget should be even raised by the governor, not by the House of Assembly. The governor should be the one, because he's the one who will implement the budget. So the governor should be the one to raise up the issues as to whether the budget in question, whether there are things he would like to do, and that the budget in question did not capture these things he would want to do before the end of the year. Okay. And thereby bringing a supplementary budget. So it is not even the business of the House of Assembly to start raising all these budgetary issues. The House of Assembly cannot invalidate that budget as passed by the National Assembly. It's not possible. And that will be ultra-various their own powers, as it were.
Okay.
Ultra-various their powers.
There's a lot to discuss, and I'm also looking at time, but I'm trying to deal with the very fresh issues. And, Mr. Charles Okoroum also raised another issue of the sole administrator, swearing in a new head of service just after they said this ceases effective midnight, and you did it in the midnight, according to him. I wasn't there, so I wasn't sure if it was midnight. Maybe, probably, But does he still have the powers to do that?
Well, from the statement issued by the president, he was supposed to, the state of matters was going to end by 12 midnight of this morning, 12 midnight of this particular morning. And if he did anything he did between now and that particular 12 midnight will still be presumed to be valid. But anything after 12 midnight would now become invalid. But I must also say that I also draw to your attention what we have continued to have in this administration has been illegality upon illegality. These things, we have seen very bizarre things happen, barbaric things happen, and things that are not even in the best interest of Rivers, we will see them happen. So you ask yourself, what is the hate? What is the interest of the sole administration? People who just came to plunge our state and to destroy our state, and they achieved it. That is why you see that the sole administrator would nocturnally swear in the head of civil service and before he leaves. You see, these are some of the dirty jobs the president has done in our state. So the president gave him instruction to do a thing. He has concluded the president's assignment. He now came up with his own agenda, and he has completed his agenda. That's exactly what happened. So it tells you what the people have. People will destroy. They dealt with us as a people, and God in heaven will not forgive them.
So, speaking about dealing with the people of Rivers State, there was this particular lawyer, William Stanley, that instituted a case against the president, talking about RCEC, the appointments, actions leading up to the polls, particularly the role of the sole administrator. And this court said, that's a Rivers State High Court, they said it was not in their jurisdiction to hear the matter, it was the Supreme Court. However, for that local government elections, they actually struck it out. They said it was legal and constitutional, since, it was RCEC that actually conducted it. So if you're saying some of these things are actually wrong, but the court is saying, well, it was constitutional since RCEC was the one that actually did that. So where do we then place, issues like that?
Now it tells you, I have also looked at that particular judgment, and I must say that judgment was reached far in Korea. That is an error. And we have also further criticized the judgment because that judgment is not captured, because you cannot say that, I think it was the Federal High Court that gave that judgment. You cannot say that you don't have jurisdiction, that it's the only Supreme Court that has jurisdiction on the issue of state of emergency. No law gave jurisdiction only specifically to the Supreme Court to have jurisdiction on the issue of state of emergency. So,
or is it because there is a case in court? Remember, the PDP instituted a case in court talking about the state of emergency.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that particular case, which the Supreme Court has also failed and has decided not to do anything about that particular matter. It is a sad one. It's unfortunate, and it does also make some of us believe that the Supreme Court seems to be in connivance with the executive and the legislature to make sure that they punish Rivers people. So, but we are now at this point, you will see them in the coming days now rushing to deal with that matter. Now the matter has become an issue of academic exercise and would not hold any water, because the action has already been dispensed with, and it's really unfortunate. This is why we are saying that our court has to be up and doing. So because of I think if the decision of the Supreme Court is reached in that particular matter, these issues of jurisdiction would also be made clear. But I think, and I also hold the opinion that the court has the reason, the Federal High Court has the reason to hear the matter on solar or state of emergency. It is not just the Supreme Court that has the reason to actually hear that particular matter.
Okay, I'll confirm that, because I think I actually saw a Rivers State High Court, give that judgment.
If it is a Rivers State High Court, if the judgment was given by a Rivers State High Court, because last I checked, I think I was when I'm a Federal High Court anyway. But if the Rivers State High Court that gave the judgment, then the judgment is right on the grounds of jurisdiction, because a Rivers State High Court does not have jurisdiction on the issue of state of emergency. It's only the Federal High Court can only bring that matter before the Federal High Court.
So it was a Rivers State High Court, but they could hear that of the local government elections. Was that also?
They could hear that of the local. Yes, they could hear that of the local government elections.
All right. So you said this is already academic, and because people have been asking what kind of precedent does this set, right? Because during the era of President Olusegun Obasanjo, while he was president, at the time, he also declared a state of emergency. And we've been talking about the powers. Can you actually remove an elected governor? So even if it's academic, does it mean that the Supreme Court cannot still rule on that matter? So what kind of precedent does it set?
Okay, now the point is that yes, why we say a thing is an academic exercise does not mean that it is not important. It's an academic exercise because even if the judgment is reached, the 6 months has been spent.
Okay.
So there will be no need. There will be no way the people who are supposed to benefit from that judgment will benefit from it. That's why I will now say it's an academic exercise. However, it can as well serve as a precedent for other presidents or other declarations that may actually come in the future. So that's why we still wanted to give the decision. But the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, if the decision goes against the president, it simply means that Rivers people have suffered for nothing. But nevertheless, we still need them to give a decision so that we now know the law on declaration of state of emergency. So subsequently, when these declarations are made, we know what follows, we know what the position is, and we will know where to take lead our argument. Because as of now, the issues on declaration of state of emergency, the issue as to whether the president has power to remove the governor or not, remains another issue which the court needs to adjudicate upon.
All right.
As well. Even if some of us also have argued and said that the president does not have such powers as enshrined in our constitution.
All right. We saw in a statement he was trying to defend why he did that, talking about the vandalism situation, and when it becomes economic asset, he had to step in. But would you say, because the minister of the FCT has said, well, this means it's a return to peace and progress. He was also warning fifth columnists who benefit from the crisis in the state to, was warning them not to stoke unrest. So having the same actors, we still have the State House of Assembly, right? The same people, we still have the governor. As peace return, how are the people of Rivers, taking this? Do you think maybe really governance would see good governance from here?
Now, I can tell you that there is mixed feelings currently in Rivers State with respect to the issue of the return of the governor, because people have, there's this impression that the governor who left, the governor who was suspended, and the governor who is returning are not the same person. In that, the governor who was suspended seems to be an independent governor, but the one who is returning back will be a control or a supervised governor. Now, these are some of the fears a lot of persons have, because now we know what happened before the crisis erupted in Rivers between the executive minister and the governor. We had a situation where the executive minister, the executive minister controlled every action of the governor, made decisions, practical decisions for the governor, appointed everybody around the governor. The governor was merely a puppet in the hands of the executive minister. And we seem to have returned back to those days, because as I speak to you now, everybody has been appointed, both have been appointed for the governor. The government election has been done for the governor. Everything has been done for the governor.
He has commissioners to nominate.
Go ahead. Now, the commissioner nomination will still go through the approval of the executive minister. Of course, we hear the governor has been instructed to change the chief of staff. They have been instructed not to work with certain persons who had worked with him during the crisis and all that. Like, the executive minister is in charge now. He's taking the decisions and all that. So the governor is more like a puppet who is just a figurehead, or is being supervised and told what to do per time. And that is our reality right now. These are some of the challenges of the people, that this man will not actually give us governance according to the dictates of the people, or according to the best that will be the best interest of the people, rather that will be the best interest of the president and the executive minister. And these are our fears.
So you don't really see that as peace in the state? Or we just say, a truce has been reached, whichever way, even if it's not in the way of the Rivers people, but at least there's...
We didn't have peace. We didn't have peace. We just had a situation where one person, decided and said, this is the position I want, this is what I want, this is the position I want, this is what I am dealing with, and you just have to obey. So the conditions we are giving to the governor, and all the governor did was to accept the condition that was actually given to him, and that's the reality we are facing right to the governor. The governor accepted the conditions that was given to him.
Would you rather he did not agree? Would you rather that he did not agree
No, but the point is it's about to be a negotiation and not just an instruction given to him,
All
him accepting the instruction that has been given to him. It's supposed to be a negotiation. So
All right.
that's where we are saying that it's supposed to be different from what we are seeing right now.
Okay. So what do you think is the delay that the governor has not resumed? Because, I've been trying to also check that update. Nothing yet. Do you know what?
A lot has happened. This has to do with mental issues and all that. And his mental state, his mental health, how for the past and all that. We don't know this.
Okay. Barrister Nwala, the line is breaking.
It comes with a lot.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You said it comes with a lot. Because people were excited, we could see the crowd, and having waited since morning up until now, I'm wondering, how the people of Rivers would also feel awaiting the return of the governor and deputy, and they haven't seen him return. But in 30 seconds, as we wrap up now, I'll read out, the part of what the president put out in his statement. I take this opportunity to remind the governors and the House of Assembly of all the states of our country to continue to appreciate that it is only in an atmosphere of peace, order, and good government that we can deliver the dividends of democracy to our people. I implore all of you to let this realization drive your actions at all times. What do you make of that, of the president's statement?
Now, these are the issues we are talking about, the wrong picture that is set. Now, for me, this is a direct threat to the governors and the House of Assembly, telling them that if you don't work in harmony, I can come into your state and I can declare a state of emergency and nothing will happen. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly why we're angry, we're against the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State. And you see, when you look at the statement, you see a level of impunity in the statement of Mr. President. He's acting like a dictator who feels that he can wake up any day, decide anything he wants, and get away with it. Of course, when you have a legislator that thinks on your mandate, the legislator is supposed to checkmate your actions, that the ones now singing on your mandate at the floor of the Senate. What do you expect? When you have a judiciary that has decided to throw its face the other way on national issues of importance and did not give priority to it, what do you expect? You expect the president to continue with his impunity. And that's exactly what the president is doing. This is a clear-cut threat to other state governors that if you do not play ball, if you do not play with me, I'm going to cut chaos in your assembly and I'm going to suspend you or declare a state of emergency in your state, and nothing will happen. That's exactly what we are dealing with. So we are dealing with a very, very, very precarious situation and very sad situation. And President Bola Tinubu is not also helping matters. Right. It's really unfortunate. Our court has got to step up to correct some of these abnormalities, but the court has failed in taking up that particular responsibility.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Barrister. We're not in a banana republic.
Thank you so much, Barrister Chetamwala. I hope that the judiciary is also learning from this and also listening, because this is where people think there should be accelerated hearing when it comes to cases like this, so that it doesn't end. But thank you so much. I was going to ask you about accountability from the sole administrator, but I think it was also part of what the state houses of assembly also put in their order paper, trying to know what transpired in that period of the 6 months. We do appreciate your expertise on this matter, Barrister Chetam Nwala. Barrister Chetam Nwala is a legal practitioner and a social commentator, public affairs analyst, if we'll put it at that. Thank you so much for being on the program this evening.
Thank you for having me, and God bless you.
Thank you. And I wish, the people of Rivers all the best. Thank you. All right. And that has been the conversation this afternoon on The Big Story. We'll take some messages, and I'd like to hear from you, about the same topic on the roundtable. Stick around.
Since 1894, we've witnessed the evolution of a nation and proudly partner with its people on their path to prosperity. From the ink-stained ledgers to fast transactions, First Bank has consistently adapted, embracing innovation and making giant strides across the globe. It's not just about banking, it's about enabling your success, generation after generation. Our legacy define the past, shape the present, and will still be fostering financial security and stability for future generations. We're helping to create a future where the possibilities and where the world looks up to Africa. Let's awaken the giant in you. You first. First Bank.
Grand Bell International na the shipping solution company where they target to meet your need. After their incorporation for New York in 2002, Grand Bell don grow so tey dem don open office and small companies for Nigeria and other parts of Africa, Houston, Texas for USA and Europe. Dem dey handle shipment worldwide. Dem go sama you orishirishi shipping services for plenty items wey include air freight, ocean freight, 20 or 40-foot containers, trucking, warehousing, customs clearing, express services, consolidation and imports, plus including pickups and delivery to your domot. Dem full ground for Lagos for number 21 Toyin Street, Ikeja, and you fit call them on 080-3513-7916. You even fit email them for info2@grandbellinternational.com and them tanda for Instagram at grandbellinternational inc at grandbell. Yeah, satisfaction, they important to us.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
Good evening and welcome to the Roundtable here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. I'm Zainab Baluku Olu. So yesterday, the president lifted the state of emergency in Rivers State, and the people of Rivers have been waiting for the governor to return to the state. No updates yet on that. However, the Rivers State House of Assembly resumed sitting. They held their first plenary after 6 months since that state of emergency was declared. And, they talked about some things, right? They asked that the governor submits the names of the commissioner nominees. Also asked that he clarifies if he's going to use the budget passed, by the National Assembly, or there's going to be another appropriation bill. Although the journalist who spoke with said at the end, he was asked that he present another appropriation bill. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But I'm also going to read out the statement from the president. This was, a part of the statement he released yesterday while he was lifting that suspension. And he said, I take this opportunity to remind the governors and the House of Assembly of all the states of our country to continue to appreciate that it is only in an atmosphere of peace, order, and good government that we can deliver the dividends of democracy to our people. I implore all of you to let this realization drive your actions at all times. What do you make of